it over to BJ. Are you, can't see where BJ is. Are you ready, BJ?
I am. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is BJ, Brenda Joe McManama. My day job, well, sort of my life too, is working with the Indigenous Environmental Network on several different projects. But my kind of my joy is working with this group. They're I'm honored to know them. I'm honored to be here tonight. The people who presented these webinars have worked tirelessly to give you this information. It's vital information that we all must consider if we're to emerge from these crises. And yeah, unless you're living under a rock, there's several of them. And we even have to face, the people who are dying. This is happening. This evening, I give thanks to Creator, as I always do, and the spirits for touching your hearts and your minds, for your curiosity and whatever reason you decided to join us this evening. I ask that you give thanks in your own way, in your own words, and a time when you feel closest to the great mystery. I ask that in your prayers you honor your traditions, your ancestors, your family, friends. Give thanks for all that comes to you from whatever source. Give thanks for the sun that brings the light and the heat, the moon for the tides and the lights our way at night. Give thanks for the tiniest of life to the tallest trees, the winds that scattered the seeds, the birds that give us their songs, just everything we see and hear and feel. Because you're part of it too. What will be again. And through this knowledge, our prayers and our songs, we are of one mind, the good mind. Tonight, as in previous webinars, I'm asked to provide a land acknowledgement. It's basically a reminder to everyone in attendance that the lands we now live were once homes of other people, communities, clans, tribes, nations that thrived and learned to live in harmony in these areas, to adapt to their surroundings. But most importantly, they knew without question that their survival depended on adhering to natural law and to recognize that every living entity, everything we see, everything came before and that will be again, has original instructions. Those original instructions are the mystery of life from birth to death, right? The truth is unmistakably illustrated by simply looking at a tiny seed. How many people garden here? I'm thinking there's probably a lot that grow something, right? So you look at this tiny, tiny little seed, and out of that tiny little seed grows these magnificent plants. I think of broccoli because I'm always amazed how tiny those seeds are, and they always plant too many, right? And I have to send them out. But I mean, it's amazing. And our ancestors taught us to give thanks for these mysteries, the gifts of Creator for all that, and it's freely given to us, right? And all we have to do is respect and care for it. And most of all, just not take it for granted. Don't exploit or waste or disrespect in any way. Yet, here we are. We're talking about the unbelievable damage that has taken place from centuries of disrespect, exploitation of the gifts, from the greed and hubris that somehow we've allowed into our lives. The way it was and still is with many of our peoples, the indigenous peoples, our teachings from our elders passed down from generation after generation, we attempt to share our worldview, remind us that life is centered on our relationship to all life, each element playing a necessary part of sustaining life. Our languages, I'm trying to learn mine, conveyed a deep understanding, but more conveyed feelings. They're illustrative, they're so much more, there's just so much more to our language than there are to English. But it's a feeling of gratitude, of awe and reverence, and just joy. So in some of our languages, we have two names. We have a common name, and then we have a prayer or sacred name. And it's like my aunties taught me that everything in life has two reasons. One is practical and the other is spiritual. So the same thing with our languages. So when we have those names and we have those prayer names, I'm trying to explain it so that y'all can understand it. way I explain it. Anyway, when we have those names, it's making connection. It's like recognizing that there's a language between us, that we're equals, or maybe we're not equals. Maybe they're better than we are, right? So it's actually referring to these things as our relatives, and it's a different way of understanding the world, but it's how our peoples lived and thrived. So today, and as I was looking up some stuff today, trying to prepare for tonight, because I'm never really prepared, I read this, that there's only 25% of the Earth's biodiversity left. That means that we've destroyed 3 times as much that's as left, right? And in that article, I read that indigenous people, which I didn't know, actually control 82% of that 25%. So today, a lot of people are looking to indigenous people, to our elders, to the stories, to the language, to the knowledge that we have, for how to rebuild, how to regenerate, how to avoid some of this damage to begin with, right? And it's true, if you relate to or look to our world creation with an indigenous lens, there is a different perspective, right? And we're trying to get this perspective into how we look at these environmental assessments, how we can play a part in making these decisions. But one of the things that complicates these assessments of resource projects is this historical skepticism of our knowledge as well. It's a colonial way of thinking that Western science is the only right way, and that but even Western science is rejected when it gets in the way of profits and continuous economic growth. So when developers and industry representatives come to us, because they're required by law, or it's this consultation project, free, prior, and informed consent, they're just giving lip service to. That's what my grandmother used to say. Basically, they're not walking their talk, and we're just there, right? And when we reject and oppose the continued destruction, unless we all come together to reject fossil fuels, you, me, everyone, it doesn't matter what our ancestry is, but we need to also look at ourselves. We need to look at our own consumption, because we can't keep, demanding more and more from our environment. We need to question how we buy and discard and replace and consume. And abundance, it's just like, it's part of our life. We don't even think about it anymore. So we know there's consequences, but we're doing it like there isn't. So tonight, in previous webinars, we're asking for everyone here to question the system of extraction and consumption and planned obsolescence and single use, and so that we can come to terms with reality that there's no such thing as unlimited anything. I mean, the water resources aren't infinite, that everything we do has consequences. We know that we must come together to find and implement real solutions. And I have trust in the people that I work with, and I have trust in the people who are here tonight, the ones that have brought all this to you. So we know that, Band-Aid methods aren't going to work, and we can't continue to pretend that adding carbon here and offsetting it here, carbon isn't a zero-sum game. We need to come to real solutions that are right for our communities. And we've got to look at single use. We know that we need actionable solutions that won't doom us to the dark ages. We're not asking for that. We're not wearing sackcloth and ashes, or as my husband says, we're modern Indians. We like our indoor plumbing. There's a way to live, right? That we're not going to destroy everything. But we can build local networks. We can teach people how to grow their own food and build and come together as a community to make choices that do the least amount of harm, but also give back to Mother Earth some of what she gives to us. So I know you're going to learn a lot tonight. I'm very grateful for the 2 people who have agreed to come here and give their time and share their knowledge. So thank you, everyone. Be well. And back to Randy.